What's up, YouTube? Welcome back for another video. Today I want to talk about some things that aren't really talked about, and that is going to be, do musicians matter? A lot of times as audio engineers, we are trying to capture a performance, right? Whether that's a vocal mic, a band, a whole entire orchestra, or one vocal. And trying to capture that, is quite challenging. A lot of different variables come in place, like microphone choices, drum choices, room choices, outboard gear choices. The list goes on, right? There's so many variables, but the main variable that I think that a lot of people don't stress about, that really don't talk about, is the musician, the source. If I'm gonna pick out a race car and I'm gonna pick a slow car, no matter how good my driving abilities are, I'm gonna be slow. You know what I mean? But if I pick a fast car and I'm a decent driver, I'm still gonna be going pretty fast, right? The best musician in the world on a mediocre drum set or mediocre guitar, it's gonna sound really good because they're a good musician. You can be the best sound engineer in the world, but if you have poor musicians that can't stay in time, can't hold a note, can't play with dynamics, can't play the genre of music, you're gonna have a hard time mixing anything, right? If your musicians are awesome, 9 times out of 10, let's just say 10 times out of 10, the music's gonna be really good, right? Can't stress this enough, that the musician choice matters more than a mic choice, more than a preamp choice, more than a compressor choice or plug-in choice. The musician is what's most important in my opinion. Without good musicians that play with dynamics and play with skill, touch, feel, a lot of those things that we love as engineers, it all starts with the musician. As my time being a live sound engineer, I found that the hardest mixes are musicians that aren't very good. So I tend to be trying to mix them, trying to almost play for them as I'm moving the faders, versus a really good band that plays with dynamics, plays with feel and touch, that are gelled and glued. I find myself not having to do a whole lot, especially in the live scene. It's so easy to mix a really good band. I mean, they practically mix themselves because they're listening to each other and they're playing to each other, right? It's a lot easier to do than mixing a terrible band or a bunch of musicians that can't really play, that are not seasoned. So I say this to stress, like, hey, like if you're a songwriter or even a band, it's not about the gear, it's not about the mic choice, the studio space that you're in. Does that stuff matter? Sure, absolutely. The converters matter, you know what I mean? But what's really important is like playing together and gelling and gluing together as a band is what's most important. That's to me where it starts, is at the source. Emphasizing the musician, I think, is most important before anything, right? Like the creativity from that point is the starting point. You're really gonna only sound as good as the musician choices that you have on your album or even in your band. That's why A-list artists have phenomenal musicians, you know what I mean? Like it's easy for them to make the artist sound good. If you're struggling with like mixing drums or mixing bass, I would look a little bit deeper into the musician choice that you have selected. Or, this is a good thing, if you're a decent musician and you know what really good musicians sound like, you can give those types of feedback to other musicians, and that's building the relationship with that musician first. Like I was working with a bass player, and I play bass myself. I'm not the best, but I play bass myself, and I've heard other great bass players live, and I've mixed other great bass players live and in the studio. So I understand what it takes to accomplish the tone or the feel that they're going for. So I can give them hints and I can help them out. But before doing so, I always build the relationship first. The relationship is what matters. You can't really criticize or critique if you don't have that relationship built. So it's important that you build a relationship first with that musician and then give them advice that would help them accomplish that tone or that feel that you're looking for. Taking the time to just dial in tones before any type of EQ, before any type of compression, is important. That's why like I start usually ground zero, no nothing. I just gain stage, and then I'm like, just let me hear how you sound. There's been times, many times where guitar, especially electric guitarists, I'm like, I don't really need to do anything, you know, just high pass filter you and we're good. And maybe take off a little bit of top shelf just for the vocal to sit a little bit higher. But there's a lot of times where I really don't have to do anything and it just starts with them, you know? So I can't stress out enough. That's a big one that will help your mixing just elevate automatically, just because you're getting the performance to be better without you having to do a whole bunch of magic under the hood. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you guys got anything out of it, I would appreciate it if you guys could like, subscribe, share the video, comment. Have you worked with musicians, like any good musicians, like any famous ones? Do you ask musicians to change tone or to do anything that you may request? I would love to hear about it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.